Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of High School Roundup. I'm John Sakaguchi. Joined with me as always is my good friend John Sape. Not in our normal set this week as our friend Tom Caton's graciously let us use his set this week for Halloween. It is Halloween weekend coming up, which is scary because it's the final week of the season for many of the teams in the WPIAL. Many of them, it's the last week that they're going to play this year because some of them are on the bubble. Others are still fighting to get a better spot. So, let's jump right into it. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, nice transition there. I really liked the equating the scary to the football teams. I mean, good job on that. But like you said, huge shout out to Tom letting us use his set. Beautifully decorated. I watched him spend a good amount of time getting this all set up for his show that we're filming later in the week. But also just, it's been beautiful out recently. Just the spirits have been lifted a little bit. It was cold for a while. Now it's nice and warm. It's mid-70s at the end of October. I mean, it's perfect football weather. It's been great.
Yeah, I mean, it was great for homecoming week last week, other than Thursday when we went to do the hockey game, and we all froze to death in there. Now that was something scary. But other than that, it was a beautiful weekend. It's going to be another good weekend coming up here. Not too cold, not too warm. It's perfect football weather coming up this Friday. Hey,
it's like baby bear's porridge.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have some highlights we got to talk about. So let's take a look here at our game of the week from our friends at South Union Township and WMBS. It's Ringgold versus Laurel Highlands. So let's take a look at the highlights here.
Formation, twin receivers each side on the 2nd and 16. Cacagna looking to put it up. Has time, throws across the middle once against the tight end Kevin Willis. Breaking a couple of tackles and Willis able to take all of these little dump offs. Run going here to Newton. Newton off tackle right side with a little head of steam. Now 4th and 13 for the Rams. Cacagna taking the snap, scrambling to the near side. Cacagna plenty of time now, looking back to the far side, has a little running room. Cacagna looking for a block inside the 30, inside the 25.
Manageable, 3rd and 11.
And Cacagna looking to throw again, looking deep middle once again with a man open and on the run, making the reception inside the 15. Dante Newton to the left of Alex Cacagna in the backfield, triple left set. It'll be Newton on the inside run, and Newton into the end zone. 2nd and 9. Rodney back out of the shotgun. Same formation. They're coming after him, trying to set up the middle screen.
It's
has a man there, and it's Antoine Black with plenty of open field. Black inside the 40, down the far sideline, inside the 30, cuts back to the 25. Antoine Black inside the 20, inside the 15, breaks another tackle and takes it down to the 5-yard line.
Play by the Mustangs.
Mustangs going quickly. Rodney taking the direct snap, scrambling near side. He's going to run it in. Cacagna back out of the gun. Has time again, a little pump fake, now throws deep far side, and it's intercepted. Hunter Kuzier, 3rd and 10. Cacagna, they're coming after him, he's gonna get sacked. Snap coming back to Whaley, he gets it away. It's gonna go on the far side, a little run here for Rodney, but he has a little room in front of him if he wants to pick it up, and he does so. Here at the 35, cuts back to the near side. Gallagher getting a block there from Black, and look out here, Rodney. Into Ringgold territory at the 40 and runs over him. It does not use a tee.
It doesn't use a tee, so you worry about him getting blocked.
Clean snap coming back. Leahy puts it down, and the kick from Harry Radcliffe from 45 yards out. It's good again.
Gallagher not giving him much respect. He's playing up only about 25 yards off the line.
Low snap. Whaley some trouble with it, trying to get it away. Might have been partially blocked.
Mustangs had a great run by Black.
We're going to get the 3rd quarter underway as Abby Whaley angles it off on the far side, and he with a little shovel back to Antoine Black. It was Leahy that actually caught the kickoff, sends it off to Black, and Black breaking it down the near side, a little cutback of Gallagher on the 2nd and 15 as Rodney takes the snap. Scrambles to the far side, looks end zone. Keandre is there, tried to tip it to himself, and he came down with it. What a catch from Keandre to Shields. How did he manage to tip that to himself? Play clock down to 2, and they're going to go for it here on 4th down. Cacagna in the pocket, has some time, flush to the near side, throws down the field, and the ball is tipped. Did he hang on? Yes, he did. Catch made on the near side by Dante Newton. First down, twin receivers to each side, line of scrimmage, the Ringgold 47. Cross the middle, and a pass complete again from Cacagna. This time to Darryl Tolliver, and Tolliver a first down. And flip it, a 45-yarder for Laurel Highlands earlier. Now this 36-yard kick might have been blocked to the line this evening. Temperatures dropping now into the 40s, and another inside run. And this time it's Parker Hoff breaking a couple of tackles. Hoff inside the ring goal, 35 snap. Play fake to Hoff. Rodney still with it. Cuts up the field inside the 40, inside the 35. Rodney breaks a tackle, cut back at the 20. What a run from Gallagher, and he's going to go down the near sideline. Cagna looking to put it up again. Flares it out far side on the side. 4th and 10. Cagna, a little pump fake. Now let it go. Far side, single coverage in the end zone. Jump ball and a battle for it. And who has it? Usually the tie goes to the receiver, and it does. 4th and 14. Gallagher's going to look deep down the near sideline. Antoine Black is loose and has it on the run. And Gallagher takes the snap, scrambles to the far side, just needs a block. He'll get it. 31-14. Cagna in the pocket. They're coming after him. He lost the football and he
makes fun of it.
2nd and goal from the 4. Inside run. Big hole and into the end zone for a Mustang. Cagna takes the snap. They're coming after him again. Hoff hit him as he released the football and it's intercepted. Picked off at midfield by Hunter Kuzier. That's his 2nd pick of the game. Kuzier on the near side looking for a little run back down the near sideline, and he'll take it back. 51-yard field goal here for Radcliffe. He's able to boom it down on the far side, but missed it wide. He's going to air it up on the far side, and he'll get picked off. Is that Kuzier again? That's his 3rd interception of the game. Kuzier on the run. Leland Lehue, the holder. Clean snap coming back. Leland puts it down. Radcliffe plenty of distance. Did he sneak it through? Yes, he did. Low snap coming back and having trouble with it there is Whaley, and Aiden Whaley still left in the game. Duke's going to look towards the back corner of the end zone and gets intercepted.
And there you have it. The final score of that one. And Laurel Highlands 41 and the Ringgold Rams 14. Once again, another dominant performance by the Mustangs there, John.
Yeah, another great game, like you talked about. I've been on a roll recently, and who else to talk about? Another fantastic game from Rodney Gallagher, but also that defense for Laurel Highlands put up a great battle as well.
Yeah, you got to talk about one player on that defense specifically, Hunter Kuzier on that one. 3 interceptions, something you don't hear about. A team doesn't even get 3 interceptions, and let alone one player coming down with 3 interceptions.
Yeah, usually after 1, maybe 2 interceptions in a game, you kind of just stop throwing that guy's way, but he was all over the field chasing down balls. Anything that was up in the air, he was chasing after, and I mean, 3 interceptions in one game is an amazing feat, so huge congratulations to him.
Yeah, talk about a ball hawk right there. And the other player we got to talk about is Radcliffe, the kicker for the Mustangs. 2 of 3. He missed a 51-yarder, not by much. He gets that through the uprights. He probably had about another 5-6 yards still good to go on that one. But I mean, that kid's got a boot.
Yeah, it's very unheard of seeing a high school kicker be able to make kicks from that far out. If anything past 40, 45 yards is uncharted waters for a lot of high school kickers, and I know a lot about kicking. I played soccer my whole life. I was a kicker for football as well, and it's very hard to kick kicks that far. So, I mean, that man has some serious leg talent.
Yeah, and made a school record, 54 yards back at the beginning of the season, first game of the year against my Uniontown Red Raiders. Unfortunately, it had to be against them, but still. Well, the other thing is that they talked about on the broadcast, and I looked at it because I didn't believe it at first. He doesn't use a kicking tee. He doesn't use that little block that kickers use for the field goal units.
Yeah, because usually you'll see kickers use that to get some elevation on it, make it harder for the other team to block as well, and also you're able to get more power behind it, and you're able to get underneath of it more if you have more elevation. But, I mean, he's rocking old school. He's going back, kicking it from the ground, so he's doing a heck of a job out there.
Yeah, I mean, and that kid's probably going to be the next thing that comes out of Laurel Highlands, along with Black, Gallagher, and DeShields. Speaking of DeShields, can we talk about that one-handed catch he made? He tipped it up with the one hand and then brought it down with the same hand.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Like behind the defender's back as well. That's absolutely unreal.
How that didn't end up on SportsCenter Top 10, I don't know. Oh, somebody please send that clip over there.
Yeah, someone's got to turn that one in.
Yeah, if nobody else does, I might just cut. That was a crazy catch. And then Ringgold, the very next drive, comes out with their own with a one-handed catch.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to show off a little bit, you know.
But that's not the only game on the docket we got to talk about, John. We have a bunch of those to look through. So what do we got?
So starting things off, Central Catholic, Seneca Valley faced off against one another. Central Catholic able to win a close one in that one, 28-25, and then Woodland Hills traveled and took on Pine Richland. Pine Richland able to get a nice, comfortable victory in that game, 35-21.
Moving on now, we take a look here. Back in the same conference as Laurel Highlands and Ringgold. Old McKeesport traveled down to Latrobe, home for the Steelers training camp, but no love loss here in this one. McKeesport wins this one in 54-14, and then Connellsville traveled up 51 to go take on Thomas Jefferson. The Jaguars take away the victory decisively, 58-0.
Moving on, Knock faced off against East Allegheny. East Allegheny able to get a nice win in that one, 31-21, and then Elizabeth Forward against Greensburg-Salem, another big win for EF, able to get the win in that game, 62-13.
Another note you made is they're still undefeated in conference and in overall. Staying in that same conference with the Interstate 8 games. South Allegheny traveled up to Mount Pleasant, and the Vikings of Mount Pleasant pulling off a big victory there, 42-0. And then a game that we thought was going to be a lot closer, as we had picked a game of the week. It was a battle for that top spot in the Interstate Conference. Southmoreland traveled to Bell Vernon, and the Leopards of Bell Vernon putting down the Scotty East 48-0.
Yeah, two shutouts in back-to-back games, 40-point wins plus for both of them. And moving on, Seton LaSalle faced off against Avonworth. Avonworth able to get a decisive victory in that one, 48-7. I think it's weird also as well, looking at it, since it's in all caps. LaSalle looks so strange to me.
I know, it looks so weird.
I thought it was spelled wrong when I was looking at it last night, but it definitely isn't. But then moving on as well, West Mifflin faced off against Hopewell. West Mifflin able to get a big win in that game, 50-15.
Little bit of a surprise in that one. You hear Hopewell, it's usually a tighter game against those two. But moving on now, Ligonier Valley traveled to take on Amani Christian, a battle of two very good schools. Amani Christian falls to Ligonier Valley 42-7. And then another tight one, and this one was kind of a shocker whenever we saw it, John. Sarah Catholic falls to Apollo Ridge 43-36 in that one.
Hey, who doesn't like a high-scoring, close game, you know?
Yeah, no defense in that one. But when we hear Sarah Catholic, we think in close games. But let's keep going here.
Brentwood faced off against Charleroi. Brentwood, big win over the Cougars, 34-14. And then Washington and Keystone Oaks faced off against each other. This is a game that we had on the Pick'em game. It was one that we knew was going to be good and that had some playoff implications. And Keystone Oaks able to defeat Wash High 35-21.
Yeah, that one, and did not let down on anyway. Moving on to this one, Waynesburg Central took on Stowe Rocks. Stowe Rocks still unbeaten in conference play, holds a 50-7 victory over the Raiders of Waynesburg. Burgettstown traveled to Avella, and Burgettstown won decisively 45-14 in that one.
And then Carleton faced off and traveled down to Fort Cherry to face off against them. Fort Cherry would get the win 42-14. And then Chartreuse Houston traveled and took on Cornell. Cornell with a big win in that game, 52-7.
And then the woes for Fraser continue as they took on Clareton this past week. Clareton and the Bears win that, the Bearcats win that one 49-7. Springdale Jeanette comes away with the victory finally in conference play 35-7.
And moving on, California faced off against Best Center for Best Center's senior night, and California spoils it on BC's home field, able to get the win in that one, 43-14. And then Carmichael's took on Bentworth, and the Mikes able to get the win in that one, 48-14.
Another game that we had on our Pick'em games last week that we thought was going to be close, and this one did not upset us at all. It was Monessen traveled to Mapletown looking to play spoiler on that perfect season for the Mapes. However, Mapletown would have none of that as they held on to an 8-point victory, 26-18 in that one. West Green traveled to Jefferson Morgan in another close battle. And the Rockets fall to West Green 32-22.
And then moving on, we had Berlin Brothers Valley High School facing off against Uniontown, and Uniontown, the first team all season to put up points against Berlin Brothers Valley, but Berlin Brothers Valley able to get the win in that one, 49-14.
Hey, I consider that a win there, or one of the top teams from Somerset. Had Uniontown putting up a couple of points, I'll take it.
I mean, they put up more than every other team has combined. So
Yeah, including a team that they saw earlier in the season.
And then moving on, Carrick and Trinity, they were supposed to play Friday night, but that game ended up getting postponed.
Yeah, and then moving on here, Brownsville took on Albert Gallatin, and the Colonials getting back in the win column here with the final score of 53-0 and over Gary's Brownsville Falcons. McDowell traveled over to Butler, and Butler falls 48-24 in that contest.
And then a face-off against two very familiar opponents. A tale as old as time, Peters Township face-off against Cannon Mac, and Cannon Mac able to get the win in this game, 26-7. Then we have Shenango taking on Leechburg. Leechburg able to get the win, and that one a close one as well. Another close, high-scoring game. This time Leechburg gets the win, 42-35.
Then moving on here to another non-conference matchup. McGuffey took on South Park in this one, and I thought would have been a little bit closer, but McGuffey fends off the Park, or 28-6, and then Bishop Gannavant and took on Olsh this past week. I thought this one would have been a close one, but Bishop Gannavant standing tall, 40-0.
Yeah, big win for Bishop Gannavant in that game. And then moving on, Greensburg Central Catholic faced off against Riverview. Riverview getting blanked on their home field, lose that one 48-0. And then we have Elwood City facing off against Neshannock, and Neshannock able to get a victory in that game, 40-21.
Then moving on to the City League semifinal playoff games. Starting off with this one, and on Thursday night, Westinghouse took on Perry Traditional. Westinghouse routing the Cougars there 45-6, and then University Prep took on Alderdice, a close one on an 8-point difference, but Alderdice stands tall with a 14-6 victory.
Yeah, those are some close games, and I will talk a little bit later about the finals for the City League.
Yeah, that'll be coming up in our upcoming schedules. But John, a lot of those games we didn't expect to be that close. Like I thought, maybe 2 touchdowns, a 10-point difference, but some of those 7, 8, 7, 6-point differences.
Yeah, there were some close games. I know the 2 that we really wanted to touch on were Mapletown Monessen. Monessen on fire as of recently. I mean, they scored 70 points the other week. I believe it was against West Green or Jefferson Morgan, but then they were trying, like you said, trying to play spoiler to Mapletown's perfect season, but Mapletown still undefeated so far, did a great job at holding on and able to get an 8-point win in that one. And then the other game that we wanted to talk about was the Keystone Oaks Wash High game.
Yeah, that game did not disappoint whatsoever. I mean, you're going into a hostile territory of Keystone Oaks. But I mean, Washington travels well, so you knew that place is going to be packed. It's going to be interesting to see how all things shake out this week with the upcoming schedule. It's the last week of the season, so everyone's going to be fighting for that last playoff spot or trying to get a better seed in there. I've seen some projections on where everybody's supposed to finish in that 2A level, or the WPIL, along with 3A, and no surprise that Belver and EF are towards the top of that, but we'll talk about playoffs next week when we get started with that. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, folks. When we come back, we're going to have the upcoming schedules along with the standings and our pick'em games. Continue to watch the High School Roundup. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to High School Roundup here for Oaks. I'm John Sakaguchi. Joining with me still is John Sape. So, John, on a lot of good matchups last week. We knew as the season progressed on, there was going to be a lot of better matchups. Looking forward to this week because I know there's going to be a few other ones I'm looking forward to seeing. I know conference titles are on the line. Other teams still fighting for that last playoff spot. So what do we got?
Absolutely. I'm not really sure who makes the schedules, but they definitely backloaded all the good games.
They really did.
Like the beginning of the season, you know what? You gotta build into the end, but we have
It's the big crescendo.
Absolutely. We have a big slate of fantastic games, starting off with the 4A Big 7 Conference, Lower Highlands and Connellsville facing off against each other. Then this one is the biggest one. Thomas Jefferson at McKeesport. McKeesport still undefeated on the season. Thomas Jefferson looking to change that. And then also Trinity at Ringgold this week as well.
And then moving on here, this one, and for the conference title, was both teams coming in conference play. Undefeated Bell Vernon versus Elizabeth Forward, a game I'm looking forward to watching this Friday. Greensburg-Salem and South Allegheny, both of them still looking for their first conference win. So you have to imagine one of those is going to come out all victorious. It's Mount Pleasant at Southmoreland, the Battle of the Bridge. Another game I'm looking forward to seeing this week.
Absolutely. Moving on into the 2A Century Conference, Charleroi travels and faces off against Waynesburg. Two teams pretty low in the standings there, just looking for any wins that they can get. Then we have Keystone Oaks, at Brentwood, and then McGuffey at Wash High.
And that one's going to have some playoff implications. You know, Washington's not looking to take another loss here and for all further down on that bracket rung. Moving on now down to 1A, starting with the Black Hills Conference. Avella taking on Chartiers Houston, and in that one, and both of those teams looking for a first conference win of the year. Bishop Canevin and Carleton, and Bishop Canevin towards the top of that conference right now. Oh, and you know Carleton would love to play spoiler for them. Cornell travels to Our Lady of Sacred Heart, who's still pushing for a better spot in the playoffs, and Fort Cherry and Burgettstown, who are both fighting for their playoff lives this week.
Absolutely. Moving on to the 1A Eastern Conference, Jeanette and Clarendon facing off against one another. And then the two teams coming off big wins this week, Leechburg at Greensburg Central Catholic, two teams fighting for that top spot in the Eastern Conference. And then finally, the last game in the 1A Eastern Conference, Riverview at Springdale. Both teams at the bottom looking for their first wins of the season in conference play.
Moving on now here into the Tri-County South Conference. You know O2 well, John. On Beth Center travels to take on Monessen, and California will wrap up their season on the road as well at Bentworth. A classic rivalry matchup between Jefferson Morgan and Carmichael's, and a good one there. Mapletown goes to West Green for this one, and looks to hold on to their conference championship and reign undefeated through the regular season. However, we know West Green has played spoiler on a couple of teams, including against Monessen and California already.
Yeah, that's something to keep an eye out on. And we have a whole slate of non-conference games to look at. Butler at Latrobe. We have Fraser traveling and taking on Northgate. And then we have the Spring Mills High School from West Virginia taking on Albert Gallatin. And it's going to be an interesting one there. Then we have Plum at Indiana. And then we have two Thursday games this week. Stowe Rocks at Seton LaSalle. And then we have Carrick at Uniontown.
My Red Raiders will wrap up the season with their second matchup against the Raiders of Carrick. A lot of Raider matchups this year. And last one we got here, looking at this one, in the City League Championship game between Alderdice and Westinghouse. These two who had a good game earlier this year. If we can pull up that next graphic here as we see Westinghouse and Alderdice. Westinghouse won on the road as the visitors on that one, 38-7. Can history repeat itself, or can Alderdice play upset this week?
I mean, it's going to be something to keep an eye out on. Like you said, that last time, Westinghouse, very convincing in their victory, but I mean, the venue's different in this game. It's played on a neutral field. I mean, the stakes are a lot higher than they were at the beginning of the season. But Westinghouse, I believe, have been undefeated all year. They've done a great job this season. Alderdice a little bit further down in the standings, but able to get a nice win last week and have the chance to potentially upset Westinghouse this week as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how those two fight that out. But we got to take one more commercial break. When we come back, we'll have our standings and the Pick'em games. Keep it here on High School Roundup. We'll be right back after this.
More attractions. More fear. Survive the clowns in Twisted Nightmare 3D. Experience more scares than ever before. Haunted Hills Estate Scream Park returns September 9th. Get your tickets now at hauntedhillsestate.com.
Welcome back to the final segment and of High School Roundup, folks. So, John, we saw what the scores from last week. The upcoming schedule from this week, a lot of playoff implications, a lot of movement in this week's standings. So what do we got coming up this week?
Starting off with the 1A Tri-County South Mapletown. I believe after that win will clinch the top spot, but still have a chance to finish their regular season undefeated, 6-0 in the conference, 9-0 overall. Then three teams just behind them in the mix, California, Carmichael's, and Monessen, all 4-2 in conference play. California 7-2, Carmichael 6-3, Monessen 5-4. Then three teams in the mix as well, all sitting at 2-4 with Jefferson Morgan, Beth Center, and West Green. And then Bentworth still looking for their first conference win of the season, 0-6 overall.
And I believe between Jefferson Morgan, BC, and West Green all have a chance to clinch that last playoff spot. But one of those three has to win, and two of those will be going home. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes up. Staying in 1A, moving to the Eastern Conference now. All as we see, Greensburg Central Catholic still undefeated in conference play, 7-2 overall. Leechburg, who comes into this week, the final week of the season, 4-1 in conference play, 7-2 as well. So you know they're looking to upset Greensburg Central Catholic. Followed by another team with a 4-1 record at Clareton, 4-5 overall. Jeanette at 3-2 in conference play, 3-6 overall, followed by Riverview, Fraser, and Springdale.
Yeah, that Greensburg Central Catholic Leechburg game is going to be one to keep an eye on. That one is also going to be a first place title decider. Whoever wins that game. Moving on to the 2A Century Conference, Stowe Rocks, after losing the first two games of the season, have been on fire since then. 6 straight wins, all in the conference, 6-0 at the top, and comfortable lead over there. Then Keystone Oaks following just behind them at 4-1 in the conference, 7-2 overall. Then two teams at 3-2, McGuffey and Wash High, both 6-3 overall, but both 3-2 in the conference as well. Then Brentwood, 3-6 overall, 2-3 in the conference. And then Charleroi and Waynesburg winless in the Century Conference. Charleroi with one win to their name, 1-7, and Waynesburg still looking for their first win, 0-9. But I mean, those two face off against each other this weekend. I mean, that could be an
interesting one for sure. And we talked about McGuffey, Washington. That one, and those two could easily flip-flop here this week. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Moving on now up to 3A, the Interstate Conference. And it's two teams tied at 4-0 in conference play. Someone's got to win the conference on Friday night. Hey, will it be Bell Vernon or will it be Elizabeth Forward? But EF right now, can anybody stop them? 9-0 thus far. Bell Vernon and 6-2 overall. Mount Pleasant and Southmoreland both at 2-2 records respectively. However, Mount Pleasant a 5-4 or record, edging the Scotties of Southmoreland. Greensburg Salem and South Allegheny both looking for their first conference win of the year, at 0-4. However, Greensburg Salem has the edge in that one, 3-6 overall, and a 1-8 record for South Allegheny. And
then moving on to the 4A Big 7 Conference, McKeesport on top like they have been all season, and they continue to impress. 5-0 in the conference, 9-0 overall, so they're looking to cap off an undefeated season for themselves. And then two teams sitting at 4-1 with Laurel Highlands and Thomas Jefferson. Laurel Highlands at 4-1 and Thomas Jefferson 4-1 in the conference. Laurel Highlands at 6-2 overall. Thomas Jefferson at 6-3. So a big matchup this week. And then after that, we got Latrobe sitting at 3-3, 5-4 overall. Then two teams at 1-4 in Trinity and Connellsville in conference play. And then finally Ringgold 0-5 overall in the conference, and then 0-9 on the season.
Yeah, Ringgold having a rough season over there. And Trinity could easily have fallen behind Connellsville. Oh, those two teams are still fighting for a playoff spot yet. We'll talk more about that later on. Moving on here, now we have Butler leading the independent scene, tied for first with Uniontown. Both of those schools at 4-5. Albert Gallatin right behind them at 3-5. Garrick at 2-6, and Brownsville wraps up their season 0-8. So no Brownsville game this coming week.
And then moving on to the final City League standings coming into this final week of play. Westinghouse up top, 4-0 on the season, 8-0 overall. And then following just behind them is Alderdice, their opponent this week, 3-1 in the conference, 4-5 overall. Then University Prep, 2-2. Perry Traditional 1-3, both 3-5 on the season. Then Brashear winless this season, 0-4 in the conference, and then 0-8 overall.
Moving on down through here into the pick'em games. So the games to watch out for this Friday night, starting off with in the 4A conference battle, Thomas Jefferson and McKeesport. Definitely a game to watch. TJ looking to play spoiler after they took a couple big losses earlier in the season, and looking to upset at McKeesport, followed by a 6A matchup between Penn Hills and Woodland Hills. Or excuse me, that's a 5A matchup. This game I was looking online. They're not even playing at Woodland Hills. They are playing at a neutral site for this one. And for the conference, Bell Vernon and Elizabeth Forward earned another game for the conference title that we're watching out for. This one we also alluded to earlier, Leechburg and Greensburg Central Catholic. Just a bunch of conference title games here that we're watching. A classic rivalry in this one, Steel Valley versus Sarah Catholic. Both teams fighting for their better spots in the playoffs. This is not a conference championship game, as those two who are fighting for who's going to finish second and third in their respective conferences in 2A. Alderdice and Westinghouse in the City League Championship game. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then the last one on the docket, it is Jefferson Morgan at Carmichael's, a classic rivalry from that 1A Tri-County South Conference.
Yeah, there's plenty of amazing games this week. And like you said, a lot of title hopes, title implications on the line. A couple playoff games as well. But, I mean, you talked about Bell Vernon, Elizabeth Forward, battle for the title, Thomas Jefferson, McKeesport, battle for the title, Leechburg, Greensburg Central Catholic, battle for the title. I mean, whoever comes out as the winner in those games will end up winning their respective divisions.
Yeah, and I wish we had enough time to go out and cover some of these games. At least send a few of us out to go cover them. You and I are talking. We might actually go do that this Friday. To go check a few of them out, because there's going to be so many good ones to watch.
I mean, it would be a big slap in the face, though, to teams like McKeesport and Elizabeth Ford if they do end up losing a game after being undefeated all year, but losing that one game and having the other teams better, even in the conference record, but having the head-to-head overall win, or having the head-to-head win under their belts would propel them to first place. But I mean, if you have been undefeated all season, this is where you got to prove it. I mean, all those other games don't matter. This is the one that matters the most.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going up against easy opponents. I mean, Bell Vernon in a undefeated conference team, 6-2, but something we didn't talk about a whole lot this year. I mean, they played some really good opponents on the outside the conference. Another one in the lookout for, I still think, is going to be McGuffey and Keystone Oaks. Battle for second and third in that one, as those two are trying to get a better playoff spot. And I know Washington took a big hit last week, so we're going to be wanting to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also Leechburg and Greensburg Central Catholic. Greensburg Central Catholic currently in the league, but Leechburg has the opportunity to win the conference. They will get the win in that, and then also the City League final, Alderdice Westinghouse. I believe this game is this Saturday, so going to be a big one in that game as well.
Maybe we'll make a little side track after we get done at Mercyhurst, but we'll see about that.
I don't know.
That's a long day after that.
The day's already too long to begin with.
Yeah, 3 hours to Erie and back. But that's going to do it for this week, folks. So next week we'll have the playoff brackets. Who made it in from our region and that we cover, or who didn't, and who's on the bubble still. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun watching this Friday. For our crew in the booth, our producer Gary Smith and Tom Caton, and my partner John Sape, I'm John Sakaguchi. Happy Halloween, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time here on High School Roundup. Take care.